All right, guys. So our next main topic here today is bringing us into the world of Amazon, and not for like Prime Shopping Day or anything like that. Although I do like those deals that you can get sometimes. Amazon recently, back not recently, at this point, it's been 4 years, which is kind of crazy to think. But 4 years ago in 2017, Amazon spent like a whopping $250 million for the rights to the Lord of the Rings, and they've been planning on making a Lord of the Rings television series. They were going to make a Lord of the Rings MMO, online multiplayer game. The game has recently just been scrapped. They announced that just the other day, kind of around the same time this news out. Surprisingly, I don't know if there's anything, any sort of correlation to that by any means, but news has come out that Amazon has going to spend or has spent, I guess you should say, $465 million just for the one season. One season of this Lord of the Rings show has cost more than Justice League if you include the reshoots, which is crazy. Like, it's absolutely insane because they estimate, I think Justice League probably cost about 350 to $400 million to make. And I guess it's not counting marketing, so it probably could have cost, I don't know, Justice League might have, especially after the Snyder Cut, it might still have a leg up on it. But hopefully this is a little bit more financially successful for them. But at the same time, it's going to be a series streaming on Amazon Prime, so you're not really going to see a direct return on this as you would like a movie. So it's kind of interesting for them to go out of the way to spend that much money on it is insane. And if you go on through the article, it's not very clear where the $250 million that they spent on the rights comes into play with this $465 million price tag on season one. Like, it doesn't really indicate if that's in addition to that or if it's separate. There is one line in here that says, what I can tell you is Amazon is going to spend about $650 million in season one alone, but 465 plus 250 is 715. So I don't really know where they're getting the 650 number. It's kind of odd. And then they also, from a previous article, like a few years back, someone said that they were estimating that the series overall is going to cost $1 billion. But then they go on in this article to say, like, they kind of reference that $1 billion number, but then go on to say that they're going to they want to make 5 seasons of this show. So these numbers don't necessarily add up, other than there's a lot of zeros and dollar signs. That's really about it. But my only thing with this is, one, that's a crazy amount of money I've just to spend on a television series. Again, especially something that you don't really see a direct return on because it's, part of a subscription service. Amazon Prime is, your flat rate of, what is it, $100, $120 a year now, or 10, 15 a month. I don't know what it's up to anymore. But it's an interesting number. So my only thing is, like, the show better be good if you're going to put that much money into it. That's all my only, like, hope for it in any right here. So, John, Rick, you guys hear this news. What do you think about this thing coming in and costing this much money to make? Like, Rick, what are your thoughts on it?
I'm glad you asked. I think it's batshit crazy.
Yeah.
I mean, like, that is so much money for a TV show. And I mean, Lord of the Rings is popular. A lot of people like it, as we were discussing, but it's just a lot of money. Like, insane amount of money.
Well, the thing is, too, keep in mind the swords and sandals fantasy like movies. They haven't even really. No one's really made any since Lord of the Rings and The Hobbit.
Right.
Like, there hasn't been one.
I didn't really care for The Hobbit.
No one cared for The Hobbit.
Yeah.
They took a book that was a generously a fourth the size of the first Lord of the Rings book and stretched it out to 3 movies.
Yeah.
Like, the movie.
They got worse with time too, I thought, like the Hobbit movies did.
Yeah, I mean, they're not bad movies, but they're by no means good.
It's not Lord of the Rings.
Like, there's somewhere in those 3 movies you can cut out and make one good movie. Like,
probably,
you know what I mean? Like, there's good stuff there, but there's so much that's just, like, very unnecessary. But John, Rick thinks this is crazy. What are your kind of thoughts on this? Big, obviously the most expensive season of television, I think, to date. So what do you think here?
I mean, you guys have kind of summed up everything. I feel like I just hope it's good. At the end of the day, the money aspect of streaming services has just gotten beyond, I think, what any kind of regular person can even comprehend. I mean, they're spending $500 million on a season of television. I don't know how much Amazon makes off of their Amazon Prime memberships. I mean, they're what, 100, 120 bucks a year now. So they work out to like $10 a month. But then you also get Amazon Prime plus everything else that's included. Like you get the streaming service for video, but you also get some music. You get I don't even know what it's all involved anymore. So I don't know how that money breaks down. All I know is I like Lord of the Rings, and I hope the show is good. Um, it does seem like an insane amount of money to spend, and if that's the kind of money that these places have to spend on stuff, there are a lot of projects I want to see get greenlit real soon because
Yeah.
I think they could probably be made for, a quarter of what they're spending on this one season of this one show. You could probably make, a lot of different shows I'd like to see made. So, I don't think the excuse is going to fly with me that it's too expensive to make anything else from now on.
Well, not when it comes from Amazon. If Amazon's saying that, like, no way will I accept that, because that's the one thing, my direct thing that I can reference as far as something they could have spent more money on. Well, I got two things really. If they were going to spend this much money on one season of Lord of the Rings, why didn't they give the guys behind Invincible a little bit more money to make the animation a little bit better? Give them some more time. Like, you know what I mean? Because the animation's good, but there's plenty of scenes in Invincible, which I'm all caught up on, by the way. It's a great show. Go watch it. There's plenty of scenes though where you just not that nothing's bad, but you see that they didn't have the time or budget to make to actually make it better. You know what I mean? Because like
Yeah.
it's all there, but there's plenty of like reaction shots and stuff. I was just watching Corridor Crew was actually talking about this. Like the video just came out on their like animators reacts or something. I forget what it was, but they were just talking about this. Why it's fresh in my mind. But there's like a lot of scenes in it where they just do like kind of lazy stuff, and it's just because they didn't have the time or money to get it done. You know what I mean? It's not like because the show's great, the show's fantastic, and we're just talking like some like cut corners way of animating to get shit done in a timely manner. And it's like, man, if you're gonna spend 465 million on this, like that's your stuff too, Amazon. Why don't you give them a little bit of money and like make all your content as good as you're hoping this is? Like, there's plenty of stuff like even with the boys. Like, if you're like, why not give that? Like, that's a proven show, like a proven
Yeah.
successful show. Like, give them a shit ton of money. They're like doing good things for you. So that's kind of where I'm at with it. Is just like, man, like definitely don't want to hear excuses from Amazon about
No,
freaking money.
right.
Yeah.
I know his pocket
Yeah.
Well,
changed
you
to
got to think though
Bezos, but
too, to your argument about Invincible or whatever. Lord of the Rings, I feel like is a little bit bigger of a deal. Like, I don't know if that's the right way to put it, but I think they can almost expect that they'll have somewhat better return on that than they would like with one of those other shows.
they
Yeah,
don't
I mean,
know
you're
though.
definitely right. I mean, Lord of the Rings is a proven multi-billion-dollar property. I
Yeah.
mean,
Mhm.
they,
Well, it
the
didn't
movies
make that
alone,
much money though. I'm
The
pulling it up. Hold on.
all three together, plus the Hobbit movies, I'm guessing it cleared a couple $1 billion for both franchises, probably 3 to 4 billion between all six of those.
If you include the other ones, yeah, they probably did. Like, yeah, because The Hobbit made 1 billion. Think about
Yeah, and
that.
they're all
Jesus.
under the Lord of the Rings banner. So I mean, I think that
Yeah, they all made about 1 billion. Yeah, they made
yeah.
more than I thought. So yeah.
yeah.
So I mean, what Rick is saying is, it's a little value. Like I guess I mean that's, but I also understand what Rob's saying too. Like if you've got $500 million to throw at one season of a series of a Lord of the Rings series, like why don't you give Invincible another extra 50 million or even
Yeah,
10 million
something.
Yeah, just
to
something.
help up the anime, because at the end of the day, it's only going to help Amazon if all of their properties are done as well as possible and like they don't cut corners to save, I don't know, for budgetary reasons on stuff. But
Yeah, especially on stuff like The Boys, and maybe Invincible season 2, right? Because obviously the show's been a hit, so like hopefully they at least allocate some more money to them for that, But like, because I
yeah,
mean, I think The Boys kind of stepped their stuff up in season 2. Like I would say, I don't know about like $400 million stepped up, but it was.
I'm just, maybe you guys have a good answer to this. What is, besides keeping people, does Amazon think that the Lord of the Rings show is going to bring in additional business? Do they think that, or is this just simply a matter of, hey, we're giving content so that people don't decide that they don't want to use our streaming service and move to one of the other ones? Is this a play for new subscribers, or is this just a shoring up of their
don't know.
content?
Frankly, I don't know because I
Yeah.
feel like most people have it for free 2-day shipping.
That's what I have it for.
That's why I have Amazon Prime.
Yeah, that's literally
Getting
it.
all their shows and
Got it
shit.
initially for sure, yeah.
It's just a bonus that they have their own content anymore. Like, in all honesty, that's why I was saying, like, I could see them if they were going to be making Lord of the Rings movies, something they're going to see a direct financial return on at the box office, then this would be like fine. I think it'd be a non-story almost. It'd be like, wow, that's a lot of money to spend on a movie. But then, as you guys said, and I mean the proof's right here. Each of the Lord of the Rings movies, even the bad Hobbit movies, they all made about $1 billion. Like
Yep.
all of them. Fellowship of the Ring, the first one out of the gate, made just under 900 million. So it's like, if you were gonna throw these in
And
the
that-
theater, then yeah, I could totally see it.
How long ago was that? When was the first one? I mean, that's been a while now.
It was like
since I saw-
2003, wasn't it?
I think Return of the King was
No, 2001 for Fellowship of the Ring. So yeah,
Yeah, 2001, almost $1 billion. That's crazy.
yeah, this is 20 years ago that movie made. Yeah, that's why I think it's crazy for. Like, I don't know what their. I don't know, like you said, I don't know what their end game for it is. Because I feel like most people who have Amazon Prime, they already have it. I don't know a single person who's signed. Maybe this is why, though. Maybe the reason for what I was about to say is I don't know a single person who has signed up for their content. Maybe that's why they're doing this.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, now people will have more of an incentive to sign up for Prime. And I don't know, you can do, like, they offer the annual subscription and monthly, right?
I think so.
Yeah. I
Is
think,
that, I was gonna say, if
I
they
pay
don't, they
monthly.
should. You pay monthly?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's like more, it's more monthly though, right? How much do you pay monthly for it?
Like, I think somewhere like between 12 and 15 bucks.
Yeah, okay, that's what I thought, because I think they do the thing where like you can pay monthly, but if you buy in a year, you save like 20 bucks a year, you know, that kind of thing. Yeah, I was gonna say if they didn't do that, that would be good. Like, start doing that. Like, that'd get more people in. But
one thing I didn't think about, or that just came to me, was Amazon may have felt pressure to dump as much money as they have into this to make it, because with things like Invincible or The Boys, or you look at other series on with Netflix series and stuff, you don't have anything. A lot of times you don't have anything to compare the show to. In this case, they're going to have a direct comparison. When they put something out that's called Lord of the Rings, if it doesn't look as good as the films that came out, people are going to have issues with it, I'm sure. And I'm sure that they will say something about it. They'll be like, well, yeah, it's called Lord of the Rings, but it looks like a silly sci-fi show or something like that, you know, if they don't put that production value behind it to keep it looking at least and feeling like the movie. So I'm guessing maybe part of that was part of the reason they dumped so much money into it too.
yeah, and the other thing with that too is like I don't know if there's been too much of this that can actually be confirmed. But there's like all these rumors that they were trying to make this Lord of the Rings series for like make it more mature, and they were gonna have like nudity and things like that on it
Kinda like
because
Game of Thrones.
everything's been because that's exactly why everyone wants the next Game of Thrones. You know what I mean?
Right.
Like everybody wants
It's-
Netflix wants to have that, like, because there's a
They're very
void
s-
right now.
They're very similar.
Yeah, and like this would be the closest thing you could get to it, like as far as IPs go.
Yeah, I was gonna say unless you like completely wrote something new or whatever, but
Yeah, but that's the thing with writing something new, and like kind of my point with this is like there really hasn't been any like big successful swords and sandals fantasy kind of things since the Lord of the Rings.
Yeah.
Like, you know, like you could say the Hobbit movies were financially successful, yes, but they weren't they're not beloved like the
No,
Lord of the
God.
Rings franchise. You know what I mean? Like series anyway. I don't know. It's definitely a lot of money. I'm curious. I just hope it's good. You're gonna pump this much money into it. I hope they just make something good.
right.
Like, and it's kind of like you said too, it is kind of surprising that they decided to cancel the game because for the longest time, like you'd go like when movies came out, they always had the video game tie-in with it. That's been dead for years now. They don't have that anymore.
Yeah.
But Lord, like Amazon had themselves in a pretty precarious position to be like, here's our, $1 billion Lord of the Rings series, and here's our freaking MMO that ties right in with it. Like, just freaking.
Yeah, we haven't mentioned that on our on this part, have we? Did you mention that about what the game being canceled?
I mentioned it off the top, but it
Oh,
wasn't
okay.
like
My
its
bad.
own
I
art.
missed it.
It wasn't its own
Yeah.
article. So if you want to talk about it, we can talk about it now.
No, no, no. It's good. I remember we talked about off camera before we got on, and then
Yeah.
I missed that in the intro. I guess I was thinking about the 465 billion or $1 million. So
It's a lot to think
It's
about.
yeah,
a lot to take in.
It's a lot of dollar signs and a lot of zeros. So, but yeah, like it just be more marketing for them, right? It's like here's our Lord of the Rings series, here's our game, and it ties in. If
sure.
they had it to where it's set in the same time period, and you're just, I mean, that because that used to be a thing. That's how a lot of games got sold back in the day, and it stopped because the demands for like quality in video games has just become a little bit too high. So like game companies being able to pump out a game every time a movie comes out just can't happen these
No,
days. Too much development time is needed for it. So
Well, I tell you what, maybe I'm different. Maybe I'm a different kind of game player than a lot of people. But man, I used to buy just about every movie tie-in game that came out, good, bad, or whatever.
oh yeah,
I always hoped that they'd be good. But there's something about like when you see those movies or the show, and it's really good, and you get into it. Like you want to live in that world more than that. You want to go back and revisit that world, and the games were a way to do that. They were a way to continue that story outside of the movie, or a way to re-immerse yourself in that world. And so I there are a ton of movie and TV tie-in games I've bought over the years, and I would think that would hold true, especially for something like this, because there are, like you were saying, there just aren't a lot of sword and sandal type genre, fantasy genre style shows and movies out. There also aren't that many games out either, so like I would think this would be a good opportunity for them, but
yeah, well, that's the thing. Like I said off camera, the only reason I can see them canceling it is because Amazon is developing their own MMO under like
yeah,
Prime Gaming is what they've renamed their company to, their video game company, and it's called New World, which is very aesthetically similar to what Lord of the Rings would be. So like maybe they just didn't want to like cannibalize their own game essentially,
right.
because this would also be like their game. And if New World comes out first, but then this Lord of the Rings game comes out, this big IP everyone knows, they'll probably go play that. But I mean, they're gonna
yeah,
face that problem anyway, though. Like that's how every game is, especially in the MMO world. It's like everybody's playing World of Warcraft, but everyone's dying for a new one to come out because they're tired of playing World of Warcraft. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? So I don't know. It's interesting, and I do think they kind of missed an opportunity because it would have been a nice touch. Because John, you're totally right. That's why those video game tie-in games were so successful, despite them not always being like of the quality of a true game, quote unquote. You know what I mean? Like it's just because I remember the most recent one I played was the Spider-Man 2 game, where Andrew Garfield one, because they were still doing
yeah.
them then,
Yeah.
and that was still just like a good Spider-Man game. Like
Yeah.
it was fun.
Tobey Maguire ones were good.
Yeah, I mean
I used to
they're the
love
same
like
way.
swinging around, and
Yeah, and Spider-Man 2, the Tobey Maguire one, was the first one where they had the open world, you're
that was
swinging,
great.
like and that's just how the frickin' Andrew Garfield one was, like, it was just it's fun just to go through and do that, and,
Yeah.
like, you're playing through the same stories.
Funny enough, I don't know if you remember. I think it was PlayStation 2 or 3 or Xbox 360 something. They made an Iron Man game, or
Yeah.
either Iron Man
Yep.
1 or 2, and it was awful.
Mhm.
I got it just because I was like, it'd be cool to fly around like Iron Man and stuff, but like it was not fun.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, they were supposed to they either did make it or they were supposed to make it, but a Man of Steel video game. Because this is around the time where the games died. Those video game
Yeah.
movie games died because like the developers did not have enough time to make games to the quality that people who play video games wanted.
Yeah.
Like that Iron Man game, for instance, like they didn't have the
That was
time
so
to
low
make that
budget.
good. Like it had to come out at the time of the movie, and there was no way for them to get it done. So
Right.
you get that pile of garbage. Like
Yeah.
I don't know. Question is, guys, though, what do you think about this? Do you think, like Rick, that it is batshit crazy in his words for them to be making or spending $465 million or more? In the article, they said that the first season alone is going to be costing upwards of $650 million for a season of television. What do you think about that? I kind of think it's a bit crazy too. Like they're definitely putting all their eggs into this Lord of the Rings basket, but at the same time, it really is just pocket change for Jeff Bezos. So I guess it really does. It's a lot of money to us and to pretty much everybody else in the world, but I guess it's really not a whole lot of money to him. So maybe that's really the only explanation we have for it. I don't know. Whatever you think, let us know down in the comment section below.